We must go through a test before we can come out with a testimony. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now I know I posted a video 2 weeks ago and I didn't come back, but I'm back again. Okay, I'm back. Today's video, we are going to be talking about the importance of embracing the process, because the process is just as important as the result. Now, one thing I've come to realize is that in life, we often like to, try to put and accelerate through the process just to get to the result. So if we're expecting something from God, we are straight away seeking out the result rather than embracing the process that he puts us through. Now, there are so many perfect examples in the Bible of individuals who had to go through a process in order to get to their result. And if we look at the story of David, now David is a perfect example of someone who had to be put through a process to get to the result of being a king. Now, David needed some courage. And in order for David to gain the courage that he needed to be a king, he had to defeat Goliath. And then he had to go through the pruning, he had to go through the refining in order for him to get to the position of a king. Joseph. Before Joseph got to the position of a prime minister, he had to go through rejection, he had to go through isolation in order for him to get to that place of becoming a prime minister. Even had to overcome and flee from temptation for him to get to that position. Joseph had to go through temptation. Now, that temptation for him at the time must have looked like a big curse. Oh my gosh, is he going to get into trouble? But that temptation was what God was going to use to put him into a moment of isolation so that he can really work on him, so he can really refine him, hide him, so that when it's time for him to come out, he is coming out into victory. Not coming out to an average level. He's now coming out to be a prime minister. Brothers, sisters, let us stop trying to skip the process, because the process is as important as the result. Let's be honest. The process can be lonely. The process builds endurance. But the process can be beautiful, because that's where the transitional period occurs. God needs to take us through the process. We need to be refined. We need to be pruned in order for us to get to the result of who he's called us to be. This journey of becoming is more than just, oh, I got money, I get my dream job, I've got my dream car. It is all about going through a process. And often some people like to try to skip through the process without really embracing the process and allowing yourself to be taught. You need to be ready to listen. You need to be ready to be a student. When you're going through the process, you are a pupil, you are a student. You must be taught and you must be given the qualities that you need for the result. So if God has called you for something great, you need to be prepared for a process. God is not going to take you straight to the result without taking you through a process. It is time for us to start embracing the seasons that God places us in, because the seasons that God places us in is the process. It is the process for that breakthrough that we are seeking for. It is the process for the answered prayer that we are seeking for. We must go through a process in order for us to get to a place of result. A result cannot come without first going through a process. Let's think about an exam, for example. Now, I am someone who hates exams. Okay? I hate exams. Give me coursework. Give me something to write I can handle. But exams, I do not like exam. In fact, I hate exams. But you must go through a process in order for you to get to a result. If I did not sit exams, I would not be able to go ahead further in terms of education. Education wise, you need to do exams. You need to sit through a headache of exams, pass, in order for you to get through to the next stage. You can't get to the next stage without first going for an exam. And that's exactly how life works. When it comes to dealing with God, that is exactly how it works. We must go through a process. We must go through a test before we can come out with a testimony. A testimony cannot come without a test. Embrace the process and allow God to carry you to the result. And each process has its season. You must go through each season in order for you to get to the place where God is satisfied enough to lead you to the result. We have summer. And listen, summer is my favorite season of the year, as well as spring. I love spring, summer. That period is me. And then we have autumn or fall. And then we have winter. But each of those seasons we get through, but it's not permanent. So whatever season that God has you in is a part of the process, and it's not permanent. So don't treat it as something that's permanent. Embrace the season that you're in. Embrace the process, because the process is what's going to make you the result. It is what's going to make you the person that God has called you to be. You cannot be who God has called you to be without going through a process. And each season within that process is just as important as one another, because you must go through that season. You must go through that pruning. You must go through that refining in order for God to lead you to that result of becoming who He's called you to be. The journey with God is not easy. Let's be honest. The journey with God is not easy. Okay? It's a roller coaster, and we need patience to endure. Endurance to continue to tarry even when things don't make sense, because let's be honest, the process doesn't make sense. But we have to go through it anyway. We have to go through it in humility. We have to go through it in patience. We have to go through the process. Embrace that season, because each and every single season matters. So whatever season God has you in, embrace it, because this too shall pass. No season is permanent. Summer doesn't last forever. Summer ends at some point. But before you know, autumn goes, and then here comes winter. And that is the way the seasons of life is. Sometimes we like to stay in a certain season for longer than we should. Some people stay in wilderness longer than they should. God only purposed for you to be in a season of wilderness for a certain amount of time. But you start to complain, you become impatient, and then you suddenly fumble God's plan. And all of a sudden, what was supposed to be 20 days of wilderness now becomes 2 years. And that is because of your own stubbornness, your own impatience. Take your time and flow with God. Liaise with God. Don't work against Him. Because I promise you, if you want to get through this process at God's time, you need to liaise with Him. Don't work against Him. Brothers and sisters, we cannot become who God has called us to be without a process. And within that process, there are going to be seasons. But understand that those seasons don't last forever. David had to go through all that he had to go through before he became a king. Joseph had to go through all that he went through just to become a prime minister. The journey may seem forever, but trust me, God knows what He's doing. So you just need to trust in Him. And in this light of becoming, because I know everybody has a feeling of wanting more, a feeling of wanting to be more, that is just the beginning of the process. That state of mind that you are aware that this is what you carry, that state of mind where your desire is to be what God has called you to be. Because Joseph started seeing revelations of the result through dreams. David saw a revelation of his result through the anointing oil that was poured on his head by Samuel. That is when David came to know that he was called for something. Joseph came to know that he was called for something when he started having dreams of it. So you will see the result. God will reveal to you the result. But that should give you more momentum to go through this process, liaising with Him and not working against Him. Because I find that sometimes we work against God rather than working with God. And if we want to see the result, we have to work with God. We can't work against God. It just doesn't work. Because if He's called you to something, remember, He's the one who's called you to it, not the other way around. But anyways, brothers and sisters, the process is just as important as the result. We must continue to liaise with God, work with God, and follow God in this process, rather than trying to do things our own way, rather than complaining and being impatient. We must persist in obedience, because I find that obedience takes us through the process quicker than disobedience. So if you want to become who God has called you to be, you need to be ready to be obedient and patient. So brothers and sisters, wherever you may be in life, whatever process you may be going through, please do embrace it, because it's just as important as the result. God will take you to your promised land, but you first must go through wilderness. You first must go through the process of becoming in order for you to officially become. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Goodbye.